Hi everyone, and welcome to another family chat. We are Transitions Programs, and I'm Caroline Davis, and I'm the Graduate Assistant for Transition Programs, and I plan and organize the family chats as well as the family newsletter. And today we are going to be talking about resources for student success with the University Learning Center, or the ULC as you'll hear it referred to. And we have Will and Nick from the ULC, and so I'll let them introduce themselves.
Great. So my name is Will Wilkinson. I'm the director of the Learning Center and the Writing Services Coordinator at the Learning Center. I've been working at the Learning Center for about 15 years now.
And I'm Nick Crawford. I'm the Academic Achievement Coordinator at the ULC. I've been, in this position for almost 3 years. Yeah. Wow. But working at the Learning Center for much longer than that, since about 2006.
Thank you both so much for joining me today.
Sure.
We have some questions planned for them, but we encourage you to comment any questions you might have. And then we have staff standing by to answer those questions through a comment, or we might answer those questions live. So please feel free to comment any questions you might have throughout our video today. And to get us started, if some parents want to go ahead and comment their student's favorite course this semester, we'd love to hear about their academic successes. To start off, can you both tell me what you do in your role as well as what the ULC does as a whole?
Sure, I can start. So I'm Academic Achievement Coordinator. What that means is I run a study skills tutoring, or as we call it, mentoring program for students, really intended to help them kind of develop as students all around, not necessarily linked to specific subjects, but they can work on things like time management, effective study techniques, how to read effectively, take good notes, and basically everything in between.
That's awesome.
And I coordinate our Writing Services program, and we're here to help student writers throughout their academic career at UNCW. We work with students from their freshman year and their composition classes or freshman seminar classes, all the way through graduate students who are working on writing theses or dissertations. We pride ourselves on helping students at every stage of the writing process. So we often, for example, will have students schedule an appointment with a writing consultant before they've even started writing. Sometimes the student will get an assignment in a class, they'll be confused by it or not really sure where to start. Spending some time with a writing consultant to develop ideas and figure out what they want to do with that prompt and that paper assignment is a good use of a writing consultant's time. A writing consultant will certainly respond to rough drafts, and they'll also help students identify areas that might need to be cleaned up or worked on before they turn it in to an instructor. Nick and I manage those two services, but there are 3 other major services at the Learning Center that we want to do a quick overview for. Do you want to?
Sure, yeah. So first up is what we call our math services. And not surprisingly, this covers math courses, but somewhat less intuitively. That also covers things like physics courses, computer science courses, stats courses, and even a handful of chemistry courses as well. We also offer help with your university studies or your gen ed courses through our tutoring services. Those offerings will vary semester to semester, but we try to cover as many of those university studies courses as we can. And then in addition to that, we also have something called our Supplemental Instruction Program. And this is a really neat program for students who are taking what we call historically difficult courses. So these are courses many students in the past have either failed or from which they've withdrawn. And what we do is we like to hire students who've successfully taken those courses to run weekly study sessions. And those study sessions are tied to specific sections of those courses. So for instance, if you've got a student in, say, Biology 201 section 50, for example, there'll be a supplemental instruction or SI session linked directly to that course. And so the student will show up, they'll be there with their classmates, and the SI leader will actually be up to speed with what the professor is at any given moment. So it's actually, I think, one of our more popular programs.
I think you veered towards something that's important for parents to know about our services, and that's that all of our direct services are provided by students. We only employ current UNCW students to work as our tutors and consultants and academic mentors and SI leaders and all the different roles that we have. And we do that because we believe firmly that collaborative learning is one of the best models of learning that we can provide for students. We love the idea of successful students sort of modeling their success for current students who might be struggling in a particular course. And we know that that student-to-student learning, they can connect with each other and help each other identify areas that they can really help each other with that students might be less comfortable talking about in a classroom setting.
That's awesome. Lots of super helpful things that we want students to use advantage of. And then, so backing up a little bit, where is the ULC located?
I'll take that one. It's easy. DePaulo Hall.
All right, so DePaulo Hall is where they are located, and then open Monday through Friday?
Actually, well, yes, Monday through Friday, but we also have Sunday hours from 2 to 9 on Sundays. We offer writing, academic achievement, math, and tutoring services.
So every day but Saturday,
Every day but Saturday.
that can be our rest day. So then how do students access these services or sign up for them, or what does that process look like for students?
So it varies. Many of our services are appointment-based services. So for writing appointments, there's some math appointments. For the study skills and academic achievement services, there are appointments available. And for all the appointment services, students would need to sign up for one-on-one appointments with a tutor or a mentor. Typically, during that first session is when the student will decide whether or not they want those to be ongoing appointments on a weekly or twice-a-week basis for the semester, which often happens in our university studies tutoring. Those courses, typically a student will find that after a first session that it was very helpful and they want to keep it up during the semester. Some of our other services like the Math Lab, which supports most of our math classes, and some of the other courses that Nick was mentioning earlier, and our supplemental instruction program. We also have a writing lab or drop-in, so a student doesn't even have to let us know that they're coming. We advertise the hours that they're open, and when we'll have an SI leader or a tutor available for a student to talk with, and they just come and go into the space that we reserve for it and start working on their work, knowing that there's a tutor or a leader available to guide them through what they're working on.
That's awesome. So if there is an appointment required, does the student need to go through your website to make that appointment?
That's the easiest way.
Okay.
They can also call us or stop by the office. I mean, we have front desk workers who will help students schedule appointments if they're finding our website confusing. But I think once they get in there and start and see how the appointment system works, it's pretty intuitive and easy to figure out.
Yeah, website's also a great place to look for things like where and when drop-in sessions are happening. And one tip I always give to students if they're interested in accessing the Math Lab is to even look at the Math Lab schedule, which is on our website, and they can see which math tutors are available when, and they also have access to different math tutor specialties. So if they like out a particular class, they can make sure they're going there when a particular math tutor who specializes in that class will be there. So the website's got lots of great information, as you know.
Yes. No, their website is incredibly helpful and it has a lot of useful information. And I also just want to reiterate for people that have recently joined us, we are talking about resources for your student success with the University Learning Center. And then I have Will and Nick with me who both work for the ULC. And then you mentioned that sometimes people have weekly appointments or 2 appointments a week, but breaking it down by service, how often can students access these services?
So for our drop-in services, it's easy. They can come in as often as they want. We've had some students who, in math courses, for instance, make it their habit to go to the Math Lab every time they have a math class just to work on their homework in an environment where they know there's someone there who can help them. So they come in to our drop-in services as often as they're available and as often as the student wants to do it. For our appointment services, for most of them, especially if it's course-based, we try to limit students to 2 appointments per class per week.
Okay.
Which is more than enough, really, because again, we want students to maintain ownership of their work. We're there to help them, but ultimately it's their work and their responsibility to get stuff done. So we offer the tutoring to support that, but we don't want to do too much where we run the risk of our tutors taking over.
Mm-hmm. And then how do you think these services support students' academic and, as you mentioned earlier, like overall success not related to academics?
Well, I think that we do have some, data that suggests it supports their actual academic success. But more importantly, as Will kind of mentioned, what we're really interested in is promoting this kind of self-motivated, self-driven, independent kind of learning, and really want students to take ownership of their educations. So I think most, or if not all, peer educators can not only help students with content knowledge, but also things like setting goals and really kind of clarifying what it is they want to get out of this UNCW experience, which I think is really important as well. So
I would add that I think one of probably the most important things that students who use our services get out of it is seeing the role models of the peer tutors and mentors.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing as a student who hasn't struggled. And one of the things that we talk with the students that we hire about when we hire them is what they struggle with academically and how they got through that challenge, and then encourage them to use that when they're talking to new students, especially first-year students who are sometimes encountering these struggles for the first time. I think anytime you can offer that kind of role modeling of this is how I succeeded, this is how I got through the struggle, that's a really positive aspect of our services.
Yeah, and so I just got a question to ask live, and it says, what can I do as a parent to encourage my student to go to the ULC?
That is a great question. I think doing this is the first thing, being informed about our services and making sure that your student knows that you know what is on offer for them, talking with your student about how they're doing in each of their classes, and then sort of having an idea of maybe which services you might recommend when to your student is a good idea. But I also think another thing to say to them is that UNCW, we recognize that tutoring and mentoring and academic support is just part of the culture. It's what students do at UNCW. And so the stigma that some students might initially feel about asking for help really isn't how we work at UNCW, and sort of helping them to understand that it's normal to go to the Learning Center and ask for help. It's normal to struggle in one course even though you're really successful in another course. And that's when you ask for the kind of support that the Learning Center offers.
yeah, I think that's great advice. And I think it's also, kind of going back to the idea of talking to your students about their classes and how they're doing. I think something we definitely encourage our peer educators to do is really get students to put their money where their mouth is, so to speak, when it comes to, I'm doing well in such and such a class. Well, okay, prove it, right? Tell me what you're learning, and really get them to dig deep. And I think for a lot of students, that experience can be a bit of a wake-up call, because they might have an idea that they're doing fairly well in a class, but then if you can't tell mom and dad about what you're learning, then maybe that's an idea they need to get a little more help with that. So.
And like you both said, there's nothing wrong with wanting a little extra help in a course.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's awesome. And then how do students benefit from learning from their peer, like the peer tutors and the supplemental instruction leaders? So what's the benefit of that being a peer rather than like a staff member or a faculty member?
Well, kind of like what I was saying earlier, just the idea that they're a role model who has recently been through the challenges that most students are facing and can sort of provide that. One of the things that I say to the writing consultants when I hire them is that I don't expect them to be an expert on everything, to know all the answers, but my expectation is that they know how to find the answers, so that if a student asks the question that they don't know the answer to, that they can work with that student to figure out what the answer is. And the important thing there is that I think they're showing students what successful students do. When they don't know something, they don't give up. They don't just say, no, I can't do it. They dig in and they try to figure out what the answer is, and they go to their resources, whether it's a faculty member or going to the website or the library or another academic support unit, some way to find out what the answer is. So I think that's one of the benefits, is that our tutors and leaders and mentors have all been doing that for the past couple of years. They're the best at it because they've been doing it the most recent.
Yeah, and it does kind of break down that stigma a little bit too about, asking for help and things like that. And I think too, it also helps students realize that problems that might seem to them to be kind of insurmountable are actually things they can take control of and get over. So having that really good firsthand experience there is super beneficial.
And do you feel like students, because I know going and approaching a professor can sometimes be very intimidating, so do you think that it's easier for students to approach a peer rather than a professor or TA or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think I know that one of our major goals is to help the student figure out how to approach their professor, because we don't want to replace that. We can't replace that relationship. So oftentimes what we talk with our tutors and mentors about is when a student comes to you struggling and is expressing that nervousness, I don't know what to say to the faculty member, that part of a good thing a tutor can do is help them formulate those questions. What might you ask a professor? How might you make it feel like going to their office hours is a productive use of your time and their time, so that you feel more confident about that?
And then I got another question, and it says, how can I support my student if they do poorly or even fail their first test?
I'm gonna let you first.
Well, the first thing you need to reassure them about is that your performance on a single test is not by any stretch of the imagination a measure of how intelligent you are or how well you can do on subsequent tests, even in that same subject. And one of the things I train our academic achievement mentors in is this notion of mindset. And what we know is that the more you believe in yourself, the more successful you're going to be. So really trying to see those moments as opportunities for growth and not kind of the be all and end all of who you are as a student or a person. Even I know some students, if they've done well all through high school and they fail their first test in college, that can be quite the blow to their egos. But we really need to take that and look at it as, okay, I can do better next time, or there's more I need to learn, or there's a different strategy I need to take, versus, oh my gosh, this is not for me and I need to give up now. Because I think if you do that, you're really just selling yourself short. So, and we're all here to learn. So if we weren't here to learn, then what's the point of being here? So.
Yeah. Awesome. And then, so I know some parents might have been listening to this and been like, my student would be a great candidate to come be a tutor or an SI leader. So if there is a student that is interested in joining your team and being a part of the ULC, what does that process look like?
Excellent question. We would love for that to happen. We have applications on our website and in our office. So that's the first step. A student just needs to turn in an application. We do have criteria for all of our services. We do require that a student be a UNCW student with a UNCW GPA. So we don't hire UNCW students in their first semester. We need to know that they are in a successful routine at UNCW before we want to ask them to work for us. But we kind of go through the requirements with students when they apply, and we keep applications on file. So you can apply now, and then if we need someone in a month or in a semester, we'll still have that application on file to review and make that decision. So we employ typically more than 160 students each academic year, so there's lots of positions.
And I think our pay is pretty competitive, just throwing that out there.
Yes, it's a good campus job.
For a campus job,
Yeah.
it's pretty competitive.
It's paid, it's on campus,
Yes,
and
right.
you're very much helping your peers, and so all good things.
Yes.
So I have one more question planned for you, and then to anyone watching, if you have any other questions, feel free to comment those so that we can ask them, answer them remotely, or ask them on the air. So what is one resource? They mentioned, we were just speaking earlier before the video, and their website just got a revamp, so it looks really great, so you definitely should go check it out. But what is one resource on the website that you wish more students knew about?
Well, one thing that's definitely more prominent on our website now is our online offerings. So right on the homepage, there should be a button there that says online help. And what you can see there is that, well, we not only have a bunch of handouts and resources like that, but we also actually offer synchronous online appointments. You can also submit papers online and get feedback via email as well. So lots of different ways to get help. And if you are a student who perhaps has a hard time making it to campus, or if you live far away or something like that, you should still be able to access most, if not all, of our resources very soon. So
That's very exciting.
And I will plug one of those specifically that I think is really awesome. Of course, I'm the Writing Center guy, so I have to plug something that has to do with writing. But I partnered with our colleagues in Randall Library to create what we call the assignment calculator, and it's designed for students who are writing big research papers. I don't know if you remember having to write a big research paper, but it can feel really overwhelming when you're in the midst of it. And so what this does is it breaks it down to 8 discrete stages with research and writing supports in each stage, links that take students to things that will help them be a better researcher or a better writer at that stage. I think it's just a really good organizing tool and confidence building tool that you know that you're doing what you need to do to succeed in composing a research paper. So I just think it's a great tool that I like to play.
I say I'm in the midst of a research class and research project, so I'm very happy that you did that plug because that sounds incredibly beneficial for anyone doing research and writing. So I want to thank you both again so much. I learned a lot during this, and I hope that it was helpful for parents to pass along to students and families. But yeah, our next family chat topic in November is going to be staying healthy physically and mentally. And if you want to sign up for our family newsletter, how you do that is going to uncw.edu/transitions, and then you'll click on our family programs tab, and then there will be a link that says sign up for our family newsletter, and you'll put in your email, and we'll have you registered for that. And you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at UNCW Transitions. And I just want to thank you both again. I hope you all have a great day and found this beneficial, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Thanks, Caroline.